Captain Arlen stepped out of his small exploration shuttle onto the soft, glowing surface of the alien planet. The air smelled faintly sweet, like honey mixed with metal. The sky was a deep shade of violet, with twin suns casting long shadows that moved in opposite directions. His boots sank slightly into the gentle ground, and he could feel the subtle vibration of energy beneath him. Everything about the place felt alive, and yet calm, like the planet itself was waiting for him to do something important. His ship had barely survived the final descent. Systems were failing, and the navigation computer had gone offline when the magnetic storms hit. Yet, now that he was on the ground, a strange sense of hope filled him. He had been trained for the unexpected, but nothing in the academy had prepared him for a planet that seemed almost conscious. A soft hum reached him from the nearby trees, or what looked like trees. Their trunks were crystalline, and light flowed through them like liquid. Colors shifted along the surface in patterns that seemed to form symbols. Arlen stopped for a moment and studied them. He could feel the subtle intelligence in the patterns, as if the forest itself was observing him, judging him, waiting to see what he would do. Before he could take another step, a figure appeared in the distance. Tall, graceful, and moving with an almost gliding motion, the alien approached him. Their skin shimmered faintly, like liquid silver under the twin suns. Their eyes were larger than a human's and glowed softly in a color that shifted between gold and green. Arlen instinctively straightened up, his hand resting on the side of his suit as if it could protect him. "Welcome, Captain Arlen," the alien said in a voice that was melodic yet precise. The words were spoken in perfect galactic standard, though there was a faint undertone that made it clear the alien had learned it rather than being born into it. "We have been expecting you. You have been chosen to participate in our custom, one that honors your character and tests your wisdom. But first you must choose wisely." They were both humanoid, but their movements were smoother, more fluid than any humans could ever be. Arlen felt a strange tension in his chest. "They are my reward?" he asked carefully, unsure whether this was a trap, a test, or something else entirely. "Yes," the first alien replied. "You may choose one of them to accompany you, to learn from you, and to share in your endeavors. But the choice must be made with understanding, not desire." He turned to look at them more closely. The one with sharp, precise movements held herself with a quiet authority. Her eyes, a deep crystalline blue, seemed to calculate everything at once. She spoke rarely, observing more than interacting, but when she did, her voice carried weight. Arlen could sense her intelligence immediately, and an instinct told him she could be invaluable in strategic situations, whether in exploration or survival. The other moved with a softness that seemed to touch everything she passed. Her skin shimmered faintly in the sunlight, reflecting colors that mirrored the environment around her. Her eyes were a warm amber, full of curiosity and empathy. She spoke gently, listening carefully, asking questions that made Arlen reflect on things he had never considered. He realized quickly that she could understand humans in ways other species might not, translating emotion into insight that could guide decisions. Arlen's head spun with the implications. Choosing one would not just be a personal decision, it would say something about how he viewed value, intelligence, and partnership. He had always believed humans thrived because of adaptability, reasoning, and morality. Now he had to apply those principles not just to survive, but to honor a culture completely different from his own. The first alien spoke again. "Do not rush. Tonight you will rest. Tomorrow the choice must be made. During this time, observe, learn, and consider. A choice made without understanding is no choice at all." Light flowed through the walls in subtle patterns, and he felt a calm energy wash over him. He could sense the presence of the two girls nearby, even if they were not in the room. It was as if the chamber itself allowed him to think clearly, encouraging reflection and honesty. He sat down, running his hands over the smooth surface of the wall. Images began to form in his mind unbidden, memories of his life on Earth, missions completed, choices made, times when he had acted with courage, and moments when he had failed. He realized that this test was not just about choosing a companion. It was about understanding what kind of human he wanted to be when facing something truly alien. Outside, the two girls moved among the crystalline trees. Lyra, the one of logic, studied patterns in the light, moving precisely as if she were tracing equations in the air. Ira, the one of empathy, touched the crystalline trunks, sensing vibrations, smiling softly at patterns of life that Arlen could not yet perceive. Even from a distance, their contrasts were clear. Lyra was like a brilliant mind focused on efficiency, and Ira like a heart attuned to harmony. Arlen wondered how a human could ever be judged ready for this, yet he felt a growing sense of pride. Humans were often underestimated. Other species might see them as fragile, emotional, or unpredictable, but there was something unique about humans that often went unnoticed: their ability to combine intellect and emotion, strategy and morality. Humans could see the consequences of their choices in a way that was rare in the galaxy. He thought about the alien instruction: "A choice made without understanding is no choice at all." He realized that the true reward was not the companion, but the wisdom to recognize value in others, the ability to cooperate rather than dominate, and the courage to act according to principle rather than desire. Hours passed in quiet reflection. Arlen could hear the subtle hum of the chamber, the patterns of light shifting slowly, almost like breathing. He thought of all the explorers who had come before him, all the humans who had survived impossible odds, and he felt a quiet determination. He would not choose hastily. He would honor both the challenge and the beings before him. When he finally stood, he felt stronger, not because he had made a decision, but because he had realized the significance of what lay ahead. The choice was not a reward. It was a reflection of humanity itself. And if humans had learned anything, it was that reflection often revealed more than power, more than skill. It revealed character. Outside, the twin suns began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and deep purple. Lyra and Ira returned to the chamber, their expressions calm, curious. Neither spoke, but both watched him with intent, waiting. Arlen met their gaze and felt a profound respect for what he was about to face. This night, on a distant world with alien suns and crystalline forests, a human sat quietly and prepared not just to choose a companion, but to demonstrate the qualities that had allowed humanity to survive and thrive against impossible odds. Intelligence, empathy, insight, and courage. These were the gifts he carried. These were the traits that made him, and all humans, unpredictable in the galaxy. And as the stars began to twinkle in the alien sky, Captain Arlen understood that the true test was only just beginning. Tomorrow, he would meet Lyra and Ira not as a conqueror, not as a master, but as a human capable of seeing value where others saw competition. Tomorrow, he would show that humans had a way of combining mind and heart in a manner no alien race had yet fully appreciated. The night was still, but Arlen's thoughts were alive with possibilities. He felt ready, and he felt human. The next morning, Captain Arlen awoke to the gentle glow of the twin suns spilling into the chamber. Light shifted across the walls, forming patterns that seemed almost like a language, though he could not read it. His mind was still full of the thoughts from the night before, the realization that his choice was not a reward but a reflection of human insight. He rose carefully, feeling the smooth floor beneath his feet, and took a deep breath. Today would be the day he met the two girls closely, and he knew it would not be easy to decide. He stepped outside the chamber, and the first thing he noticed was how alive the world seemed in daylight. The crystalline trees shimmered with soft colors, like rainbows trapped inside ice. Light moved along their surfaces in ways that made Arlen feel dizzy and fascinated at the same time. The twin suns created long shadows, and the air vibrated slightly, as if it held a song that only the planet could sing. Lyra and Ira were waiting. Lyra, with her sharp movements and calculated presence, stood perfectly still, observing Arlen with an intensity that was almost mathematical. Ira, meanwhile, moved gracefully among the crystals, her fingers brushing the surfaces lightly, eyes scanning patterns in the light. Arlen realized immediately how different they were, yet equally intriguing. "You may come forward, Captain," said the first alien, the one who had greeted him yesterday. Their voice was calm but commanding. "Observe them, speak with them, learn what you can." The choice is not a test of desire, but of understanding. Instead, they were presenting a challenge that relied on his wisdom, not his strength. He first spoke to Lyra. "Hello, I'm Captain Arlen." His voice sounded small in the vastness of the forest. Lyra's head tilted slightly. Her eyes, a crystalline blue, seemed to measure him instantly. "Captain Arlen," she said, her voice calm and precise, "your arrival is unexpected, yet predicted. You have shown capabilities that few possess. I am Lyra. You may observe me to understand logic, strategy, and efficiency." He realized that if he were to face challenges on this planet, or elsewhere with allies, her mind would be an unmatched asset. Then he turned to Ira. Her appearance was softer, warmer. Her skin reflected the sunlight in gentle waves, and her eyes glowed with amber warmth. "I am Ira. she said, her voice flowing like a gentle stream. I feel what others feel. I see patterns not just in strategy, but in intention, in emotion. I can help you understand beings in ways beyond observation alone. He could see how humans were often judged by aliens as simple, impulsive, or unpredictable. Yet here he was, facing a choice that required exactly the qualities that made humans exceptional: ethical reasoning, insight, and the ability to see value where others might see competition. Over the next hours, Arlen observed them. Lyra demonstrated her problem-solving abilities. She analyzed the forest, predicting how sunlight would shift, how energy flowed through the crystalline structures, and how that energy could be harnessed. Arlen tried to follow her reasoning, and though some of it was beyond his immediate understanding, he was amazed at the clarity of her mind. Every movement she made was deliberate, purposeful, efficient. Ira, meanwhile, moved among the trees in ways that made him feel connected to the environment. She paused near a crystalline trunk, touching it lightly, and whispered to it as if it could hear her. Patterns of light shifted subtly in response, reflecting her presence. She spoke to Arlen about the feelings she perceived, not just his, but the subtle vibrations of the forest, the energy of the air, the hidden rhythms of life around them. With her, understanding went beyond logic. It reached into a kind of intuition that humans had long valued, though rarely recognized by other species. Arlen realized that the true challenge was not picking who was smarter or more capable. The challenge was recognizing the value of balance. Humans thrived because they could combine intellect with empathy, reasoning with morality. In this choice, he had to consider not just what each could offer him individually, but what they could teach him, and what he could contribute to them in return. As the day went on, he engaged them in conversation. Lyra spoke in precise, calculated words, analyzing the potential consequences of hypothetical situations. Ira asked questions that made him reflect on his own motivations, his own emotions, and the ways he had acted in the past. Arlen found himself thinking deeply, realizing that humans often underestimated the power of reflection and communication. His species had survived in the galaxy not only because of physical strength or technological skill, but because of the ability to think, feel, and act wisely in concert. By mid-afternoon, the alien who had first greeted him returned. "You are learning," they said. "But understanding requires more than observation. You must engage, question, and consider the consequences of choice. Choice is a reflection of priority. To choose one is to acknowledge what you value most. Do not fear your instincts, but do not ignore reason either." He realized that his species had always been underestimated because other races looked only at immediate strength or visible skill. But humans had the capacity to understand the bigger picture, to weave intellect, morality, and empathy into decisions that could shape entire civilizations. This was his advantage, and now it was what the aliens were testing. As evening approached, Arlen noticed the way the forest changed. Light patterns shifted, casting long, intricate shadows. The twin suns began to set in opposite directions, coloring the sky with shades of violet, gold, and orange. It was breathtaking, and yet it reminded him of the gravity of his decision. The two girls waited patiently, each radiating calm confidence, yet the weight of expectation was palpable. He sat down again in the chamber provided for reflection. Lyra and Ira stayed nearby, not imposing, simply present. Arlen thought about everything he had observed, the precision and clarity of Lyra's mind, the warmth and perception of Ira's spirit. He realized that humans were not just capable of choice. They were capable of creative solutions that transcended simple binaries. Suddenly, a thought struck him. What if the true choice was not picking one over the other, but understanding how both could work together, complementing each other's strengths? Could humans offer insight in a way that honored both of them rather than forcing a division? It was a risky idea. He had no way of knowing if the alien culture would accept it. But he felt in his heart that this was the kind of solution humans could create, one that combined logic, empathy, and cooperation rather than dominance. Hours passed as he pondered this. He reflected on humanity's history, how humans had survived in hostile environments, built alliances with diverse cultures, and solved problems that seemed impossible. Time and again, humans had succeeded not because they relied solely on strength or cunning, but because they adapted, understood, and acted with foresight. This was the essence of what made them valuable in the galaxy, and perhaps it was the lesson the aliens wanted him to see. Finally, as night fell and the twin moons rose, Arlen stood. He felt a quiet determination. Tomorrow, he would engage with Lyra and Ira fully, not as subjects to choose from, but as partners to understand. He would honor the challenge with thoughtfulness, insight, and humanity. The two girls watched him with quiet curiosity. Lyra's eyes reflected the moonlight like frozen stars, while Ira's glowed softly, a comforting warmth. Arlen approached them slowly. "I've been thinking," he said. "This isn't just a choice about preference. It's about understanding, cooperation, and insight. I don't want to pick one over the other without knowing what that truly means. Tomorrow, I want us to work together, to explore the possibilities of what humans and your species can learn from each other. You may have value beyond what we expected." The day had been long, filled with observation, reflection, and understanding. He realized that the true reward was not the choice itself, but the recognition of what humans could contribute, intelligence, empathy, and vision combined. Tomorrow, the real challenge would begin, and he felt ready. For the first time since arriving on this alien world, he did not feel lost. He felt human. And he knew that being human was exactly what the galaxy needed to see. The morning light arrived softly, streaming across the crystalline forest and painting the ground in shades of violet and gold. Captain Arlen awoke with a sense of clarity he had not felt before. Last night's reflections had crystallized into a new understanding. This challenge was not about choosing based on desire or instinct alone. It was about recognizing value, collaboration, and the potential for humans to bring balance in ways other species often overlooked. When he stepped outside, Lyra and Ira were already waiting, as if they had sensed his resolve. Lyra's precise posture and measured gaze contrasted with Ira's fluid, welcoming movement. They had become symbols of two different approaches, but Arlen knew now that the real question was not which path to follow alone. It was how to merge perspectives to create something new. "You are ready," the first alien said, appearing silently beside him. "Today, the decision must be expressed. Speak, act, and let your understanding be known. The choice will define not only you, but also the example of humanity in our presence. Humans survive not just through power or logic, but through the ability to cooperate, to adapt, and to learn from others. That is what I wish to demonstrate." Explain how this would work. We could explore, solve problems, and learn from one another without needing to choose one over the other. Few have approached the choice this way. Your reasoning reflects qualities that we have observed in humanity, though they are often underestimated: foresight, empathy, and the ability to integrate diverse strengths. The test is not merely selection, but comprehension of the broader implications of choice. Humans were not the most advanced species in technology or strength, but they often possessed a unique ability to see the connections between things that others considered separate. Strategy, emotion, morality, and intellect could coexist in human decision-making. That was his gift. That was his advantage. Lyra stepped forward. "If we proceed in this manner, Captain, how do you propose we manage our roles? We must ensure that our collaboration does not create imbalance or conflict. We leverage what each of us does best without undermining one another. It will not be perfect, and mistakes may occur, but the process itself is valuable. It is the essence of human adaptability." "I agree. Choice is no longer about competition or preference. You have demonstrated insight, innovation, and humanity's ability to integrate diverse perspectives. The galaxy often misjudges your species, but today you have shown its potential in a way few could comprehend. Humans were often underestimated, but this was an opportunity to demonstrate a core truth. Intelligence alone was not enough. Ethical reasoning, collaboration, and insight were equally powerful. Over the next several hours, Arlen, Lyra, and Ira moved together through the crystalline forest. Lyra pointed out patterns of energy, analyzing the structures in precise detail. She explained how these patterns could be harnessed, showing predictive models that aligned with the natural flow of the planet. Arlen followed her explanations carefully, noting how her clarity of mind complemented his own intuition and understanding of problem-solving. Ira, on the other hand, focused on subtle connections. She paused to feel the vibrations of the ground, sensing patterns in the movement of the air and the forest. She explained to Arlen how living systems on the planet interacted, showing insights that Lyra's calculations had not predicted. Arlen realized that her perceptions often captured nuances he would have missed, bridging the gap between human intuition and alien understanding. By the time the twin suns began to lower toward the horizon, a clear sense of cooperation had formed among them. Each brought a unique perspective, and together they had discovered patterns and insights that none could have achieved alone. Arlen felt a sense of exhilaration. This was the true value of humans, the ability to synthesize different forms of intelligence and approach challenges in unexpected ways. The alien council returned as the sun set, observing silently. Their expressions were unreadable, but the air seemed charged with curiosity and cautious admiration. "You have not chosen a reward in the conventional sense," one said. "Instead, you have proposed a solution that unites diverse strengths. This is unprecedented. If the galaxy is to benefit from our presence, this is how we must demonstrate it, not through domination, but through understanding and cooperation. And I am eager to learn together. There is value in shared understanding, in mutual respect, and in applying insight to solve complex challenges. Your humanity has revealed this possibility. Captain Arlen, you have demonstrated what few of your species are known for in our records: ethical reasoning, insight, and adaptability. You have passed the test not by selecting a companion, but by showing how humans can elevate cooperation to new heights. Your reward is not one individual, but recognition of the unique qualities of humanity itself." This was more than he had hoped for. Humans were often dismissed as unpredictable or weak by alien civilizations, yet here, on this distant world, he had shown that humans could surprise even the most advanced societies with ingenuity and moral clarity. Lyra and Ira both stepped forward, not as prizes, but as partners. "We shall accompany you," Lyra said, "to explore the possibilities that your insight has revealed." It was not raw strength or intelligence alone, but the ability to think, feel, and act with integrity and foresight. That combination made humans unpredictable and remarkable in the galaxy. As night fell, the crystalline forest shimmered under the twin moons. Arlen, Lyra, and Ira sat together, observing the patterns of light and energy that flowed through the planet. Each contributed in their own way, Lyra with logic and analysis, Ira with perception and empathy, and Arlen with human insight and reasoning. Together, they formed a team that no one individual could have achieved alone. The first alien approached once more. "The galaxy watches. Humans are often underestimated, yet today you have shown why that is a mistake. Insight, morality, cooperation. These are the strengths that will define your species' legacy. You have not only passed our test, but also expanded our understanding of what is possible." Humans had survived and thrived in the galaxy because of these qualities, and here on a distant alien world they had been recognized once more. The night air was filled with soft energy pulses from the crystalline trees. Arlen closed his eyes, reflecting on the day's events. The challenge had been daunting, but he had approached it with human reasoning and heart. That was the difference. That was why humans mattered. He opened his eyes to see Lyra and Ira watching him. Their expressions were calm, but filled with curiosity and respect. Arlen realized that the bonds formed today were not just about exploration. They were a testament to the power of collaboration, understanding, and human insight. And as the stars reflected in the crystalline trunks and the twin moons cast gentle shadows across the ground, Captain Arlen knew that the galaxy had just seen a glimpse of humanity at its best. Clever, compassionate, and capable of achieving more together than alone. The next morning, the crystalline forest glowed softly under the twin suns. Captain Arlen awoke with a quiet determination. The events of the previous day had changed everything. He had not only passed the test set by the Alien Council, but he had also shown the potential of humanity in a way that no alien culture had expected. Today, he realized, would be about demonstrating the impact of human insight beyond a single interaction. Lyra and Ira were already outside, moving gracefully among the shimmering trunks. Lyra's steps were precise, analyzing patterns in the forest and predicting energy flows with exacting detail. Ira floated along beside her, her senses attuned to the subtle vibrations of life around them, feeling the connections that others would have missed. Both had become attuned to Arlen's presence, yet each retained her unique approach. It fascinated him to see how two beings so different could complement one another so naturally. "You understand now, Captain," the guiding alien said as they appeared silently at his side. "The Council is eager to see how your human methods will influence the broader community. Yesterday, you demonstrated insight, cooperation, and the power of combined perspectives. Today, the response of our people will be observed. Prepare to show them what humanity can offer." The Council had gathered near the crystalline river that cut through the forest like liquid light. Hundreds of aliens moved silently among the glowing trees, observing without interfering. Arlen felt the weight of their attention, but refused to be intimidated. He had faced hostile worlds, complex negotiations, and impossible odds before. What made humans remarkable was their ability to act thoughtfully under pressure, and this moment demanded exactly that. Lyra stepped forward first, demonstrating the patterns she had studied. Using her precise calculations, she projected energy flows across the forest, showing how the planet's natural rhythms could be harnessed to generate sustainable power, maintain ecological balance, and even enhance communication networks. Arlen watched closely, noting how her intelligence and strategy created solutions that were elegant and highly efficient. Ira followed, moving with fluidity that seemed almost like a dance. She spoke softly to the crystals, feeling their vibrations and interpreting them into a language of harmony. Through her perception, the Council could understand the subtle interconnections between living and non-living systems, patterns that Lyra's calculations alone had not revealed. Arlen realized that their combined efforts were already creating insights that could change the way the aliens viewed collaboration, problem-solving, and innovation. "Observe," Arlen said, stepping forward. "This is the power of combined perspective. Humans thrive not because they are the strongest or the fastest, but because they learn, adapt, and integrate different strengths. What you are seeing here is not just two individuals collaborating. It is an example of how humanity approaches challenges, by valuing diversity of thought, emotional insight, and reason together. Most species in the galaxy valued either strength, intelligence, or technical mastery above all else. Humans, however, had a different method. They sought understanding first, then action, and that made them unpredictable in a way that could shift outcomes dramatically. Lyra glanced at Arlen, a subtle nod of approval in her eyes. "Your explanation complements the work we are doing. The Council can see that integrating diverse skills leads to results that are more comprehensive and sustainable than isolated effort. This is insight that even our most advanced methods have not fully captured." The Council's head, an elder whose eyes shone like molten gold, stepped forward. "Captain Arlen," the alien said, "your actions and reasoning yesterday were unusual and enlightening. Today, we see the results of your approach. We are witnessing the potential of humanity in a way that surpasses our expectations. Explain to us the principles that guide your species in making decisions that balance intellect, empathy, and foresight. We consider consequences not only for ourselves but for others. We cooperate, adapt, and innovate in ways that allow us to solve problems that seem impossible. Our strength is not only in skill or intellect, but in the ability to see the bigger picture and act accordingly. That is what we call humanity." "It is remarkable," they said. "Your species' approach is subtle yet powerful. It relies on principles that cannot easily be measured, yet they yield results that are clear and enduring. I bring human reasoning, foresight, and adaptability. Together, we create outcomes that none of us could achieve alone. This is the essence of cooperative effort, and it is a strength that humans carry into every endeavor." They had always valued intelligence and efficiency, but humans demonstrated that true power lay in the combination of intellect, empathy, and ethical foresight. Lyra stepped closer to Arlen. "Your reasoning is precise, yet it is not rigid. You have demonstrated flexibility and creativity, qualities that complement our calculations and observations. And your perspective respects harmony, Captain. You do not dominate or demand, you guide and collaborate. That is what makes humans intriguing. That is the legacy of humanity: insight, cooperation, and adaptability. Your approach challenges our traditions yet honors them. It is enlightening." The aliens were beginning to understand how humans approached challenges differently, how insight could transform outcomes without the need for force or dominance. Lyra spoke softly. "Captain, your method has revealed patterns and solutions we could not have discovered alone. This is more than collaboration. It is evolution of understanding. And it demonstrates that respecting and valuing different perspectives creates strength. Your humanity embodies this principle in action." Yet it was precisely those qualities, combined with intelligence, foresight, and cooperation, that made them capable of achieving extraordinary outcomes. The elder alien stepped closer. "Captain, your actions today and yesterday have altered our perception. Your species demonstrates potential for cooperation and insight beyond what we believed possible. You have not only passed the test, but elevated it. Humanity will be remembered here as a species capable of combining intellect, empathy, and foresight in a manner that transforms understanding and outcomes. We are not the strongest or the fastest, but we can see connections others miss, act with foresight, and value cooperation. That is our gift, and it is what allows us to thrive in the galaxy. Humans, once underestimated, were now recognized for a quality that no alien technology or advanced computation could replicate: the ability to combine intelligence, morality, and insight to achieve results beyond expectation. Lyra smiled faintly. Your species surprises us, Captain, and yet it is clear that your methods are effective. We shall continue to explore and learn together. He realized that this moment, more than any battle or mission, represented the essence of his species' potential: clever, compassionate, and capable of achieving more together than alone. As the twin moons rose, the crystalline forest shimmered in silver and gold. The council observed in quiet reverence, acknowledging the new understanding humans had brought. Arlen, Lyra, and Ira sat together, united not by tradition, but by mutual respect, insight, and the promise of discovery. And as the night deepened, Captain Arlen understood that humanity had not only passed a test, but had begun to reshape perceptions of what a species could accomplish when intellect and empathy worked together. The galaxy had witnessed a new model of cooperation, and humans had shown that even without domination or force, they could inspire change and progress in ways that were subtle, profound, and lasting. The next morning, the crystalline forest glowed with a gentle light as Captain Arlen prepared to depart. His mission on this alien world was complete, not because he had conquered or achieved a traditional reward, but because he had demonstrated something far more important: the human way of thinking, cooperating, and valuing insight. Today, he would leave, but the legacy of what humans could offer the galaxy would remain. Lyra and Ira joined him at the edge of the forest. Lyra's precise movements and analytical gaze were balanced by Ira's gentle warmth and deep perception. Both had come to understand him, not as a conqueror, but as a partner, and in turn, had allowed him to recognize their unique strengths. Together, the three of them formed a triad that represented more than the sum of its parts. They were a living demonstration of human ingenuity applied with respect and collaboration. The alien council arrived to see them off. Hundreds of beings moved silently, their eyes reflecting curiosity and respect. The elder, whose molten gold gaze had followed every step of Arlen's journey, stepped forward. "Captain Arlen," they said, "your actions have been observed and understood. Your species has shown us a path that combines intellect, morality, and insight. You leave this planet not with one reward, but with acknowledgement of humanity's potential. This will be remembered. Not just strength or skill, but insight, empathy, and the ability to work together to solve problems that seem impossible. Your species demonstrates that cooperation, combined with ethical reasoning, can achieve outcomes that others might consider improbable. This lesson will guide our people. There is much to learn, and much we can contribute together." Humans had always thrived not because they dominated others, but because they adapted, understood, and acted with insight. That adaptability was exactly what had allowed them to survive in countless environments, face impossible odds, and make allies in situations that might seem hopeless to other species. Now he was taking that lesson to the stars. The shuttle lifted from the crystalline ground, casting shadows that shifted across the forest in intricate patterns. Below, the alien council and the inhabitants of the planet watched in silence, reflecting on what they had witnessed. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but in a way that inspired hope and respect. Their intelligence was not just mechanical or technical. It was integrated with morality and vision. Lyra adjusted the navigation system with precision, her analytical mind mapping the optimal trajectory for interstellar travel. Ira floated beside her, sensing subtle gravitational shifts and energy patterns, providing insights that allowed the shuttle to move smoothly and safely through regions that would have been dangerous for less aware pilots. Arlen watched them, marveling at the ways their unique abilities complemented his human intuition and reasoning. Together, they were a team capable of achieving outcomes that none of them could reach alone. As they traveled through the stars, Arlen reflected on the journey. The test on the alien planet had seemed simple at first, a choice between two beings presented as a reward. Yet it had been a lesson in perception, understanding, and cooperation. He realized that humans were capable of seeing beyond what was obvious, recognizing value that others might miss, and creating solutions that were both practical and ethical. That was the core of humanity, adaptability guided by insight and morality. The galaxy beyond the crystalline world was vast, filled with civilizations that often underestimated humans. Many species judged by appearances, by technology, or by sheer physical power. But humans were not defined by a single measure. They thrived because they could combine observation, reasoning, and empathy to navigate complexity. They could solve problems by considering the wider consequences, not just immediate results. Lyra spoke quietly, breaking the silence. Captain, I have analyzed hundreds of star systems, yet none have challenged thought as this journey has. Your species demonstrates reasoning that is not only effective but ethical and adaptable. I find it fascinating. You consider the whole picture, including the feelings and intentions of others. That is something even our most advanced systems cannot replicate. That combination allows us to navigate challenges that others might consider unsolvable. And now, we take that approach to explore the stars and build alliances, not for conquest, but for understanding and growth. This was what it meant to be human in the galaxy, to move with curiosity, to respect life, and to solve problems through insight and cooperation. That perspective was rare, and it was powerful. As they approached the next star system, Lyra spoke again. Captain, I see opportunities to apply this approach elsewhere. Planets with scarce resources, civilizations struggling to communicate, situations that seem unsolvable, all could benefit from your human method of integration and foresight. Together, we can explore, learn, and guide in ways that honor both human potential and the strengths of others. That is the legacy of humanity. Look at this, Lyra said, pointing to a planet with vast oceans and scattered islands. Energy patterns here are unusual. Alone, I could calculate the flows, but your insight adds a dimension I could not predict. Together, we can understand not just the physical patterns, but the balance of intention and interaction. Arlen realized that this journey, starting from a simple test on a distant crystalline world, had become the foundation for a new chapter in humanity's story in the galaxy. They would not conquer, they would not dominate. Instead, they would demonstrate that insight, empathy, and cooperation were as valuable as technology or strength. Over the following days, their journey took them to multiple star systems. In each, they applied their combined approach, demonstrating how humans could solve problems and facilitate cooperation without force. Civilizations began to take notice, not of humans as conquerors, but as collaborators, as species capable of balancing intellect with morality. Lyra and Ira had become partners in every sense. Lyra's analytical skills ensured precision and foresight, while Ira's empathy ensured harmony and understanding. Arlen's human insight bridged gaps, allowing them to anticipate challenges and guide civilizations without imposing dominance. Their combined work became a living example of HFY, humans not only surviving but inspiring progress through wisdom and collaboration. One evening, as they traveled through a quiet nebula, Arlen reflected on the journey. From the crystalline planet to the stars beyond, humans had demonstrated a truth that other species often failed to recognize. Their greatest strength was not in power, but in the ability to integrate intelligence, empathy, and ethical reasoning to create solutions greater than themselves. Ira looked at him, her amber eyes glowing softly. Captain, your species has shown that even when underestimated, humans can inspire change, understanding, and progress. That is a gift the galaxy will not forget. This is why humans matter. We are often underestimated, but we think, feel, and act in ways that allow us to navigate impossible challenges. We adapt, we learn, and we cooperate. That is our legacy, and it will continue wherever we go. The galaxy had witnessed humanity in its finest form, clever, compassionate, and capable of inspiring progress without domination. And as they passed through the nebula, light scattering in endless colors across the shuttle, Captain Arlen realized that this journey, which had begun with a choice between two alien girls, had grown into something far greater. It had become a testament to the power of humanity itself, adaptable, insightful, and endlessly capable of creating a better galaxy through cooperation, understanding, and ethical reasoning. The legacy of humanity was not in force or conquest. It was in wisdom, collaboration, and vision. And now that legacy was being carried among the stars. shining brightly, guiding others toward a future where intelligence and empathy could create possibilities no one had imagined before. As the twin moons of distant planets rose in the distance, Arlen, Lyra, and Ira gazed forward, ready to explore new worlds. Humanity's journey had only begun, and its impact on the galaxy was just starting to unfold. And in that moment, Captain Arlen knew that humans had shown the galaxy why they were not to be underestimated, not because of their strength, but because of their insight, morality, and endless potential.